So, I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time now, but because of my personal life outside of YouTube and my schedule for film and video essays, I had to put this one on hold. But I'm going to try my best to make these as much as I can, because I love making reviews and I like doing video essays. Though now that I'm older, I need to reduce some of my reviews and video essays because there are a lot of things that I am not proud of. But keep in mind, I was a kid back then. I was not using a very good computer, and I had a bad microphone and an okay camera, and trying to say what I have to say, and pretty much yeah. But without further ado, let's get with the video. Dragon Ball Super is a continuation of Dragon Ball Z, where it takes place between the ending of the Buu saga and the 30-year conclusion to DBZ. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I love Dragon Ball Super. It's no surprise that I do like Dragon Ball Super, and I know that the critical reception for Dragon Ball Super isn't that great, and it's very mixed. And some people are even saying that GT was better. That's a video for another day. But before we can get into Dragon Ball Super's defense, let's go back in time, back in the good old days of Toonami. Now, for those of you who do not know, I love Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is by far, if not one of my favorite animes of all time, and it's one of my favorite animes in general. It was unlike any other action-packed animated show that I have seen before, whenever it was airing on the Toonami block or 4Kids. It grabbed my attention very quickly thanks to its heavy action and one of the best high intensities of its stakes. It was heavily action-packed with brilliant characters, brilliant stories, and brilliant life lessons along the way. I remembered seeing this anime back in the beginning of the Saiyan saga throughout half the Cell saga. It caught my attention to see this show, watching it whenever it was on, like either midnight or Saturday mornings, seeing Goku fighting the Saiyans or Frieza, or seeing the other Z fighters with their struggles, or seeing Vegeta fighting Cell, or Gohan defeating Cell. Nevertheless, Dragon Ball Z opened my mind to the art of anime, where I get to see shows like Cowboy Bebop, Yu Hakusho, Sailor Moon, Gundam Wing, Outlaw Star, Trigun, Inuyasha, Samurai Champloo, Fooly Cooly, The Big O, Naruto, One Piece, Ultimate Muscle, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, Shaman King, Pokémon, Digimon, Fullmetal Alchemist, and of course the original Dragon Ball. But all good things come to an end when Dragon Ball Z ended its final episode with the 30-year conclusion to the series, and then we had Dragon Ball GT. Unfortunately, it wasn't great as both Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. For GT, Toriyama wasn't heavily involved with GT. The only things that he has done with GT, with doing some artwork, drawing up character designs, and coming up with the title. Without Toriyama's involvement, it has proven that Dragon Ball without his involvement wouldn't work, and GT was cut short for only 2 seasons, and after GT there wasn't any other Dragon Ball content, and the only thing that we ever had for more Dragon Ball content was with the video games, and of course let's not forget the OVAs in the movies and the TV specials like Bardock, Father of Goku, and the History of Trunks, and the retelling of DBZ in video game format, and of course DBZ Kai, which is like a director's cut, re-edited and remastered HD of Dragon Ball Z, as it has better pacing, less filler, and better dialogue for the most part. And that was pretty much it for Dragon Ball. Until in 2014, we had one of, if not the greatest movie and my favorite animated and anime movie of all time, Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, in theaters, and then a year later, Resurrection F. Sadly, I didn't get a chance to see these 2 movies in theaters because of limited releases, and my parents didn't want to spend money on limited releases back then. But I did get it thanks to my parents renting it from Redbox, which was really awesome, and seeing these movies was an absolute treat. But years later, I would get my chance to see Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods in theaters for its 10th anniversary, feeling like going back to the 2010s. It was a real fun treat seeing both Battle of Gods and Resurrection F on DVD from Redbox. And when I first heard that there was a new Dragon Ball series that was coming out, I was excited at the time. I watched the show and well, I kinda got bored with it quickly because it was nothing but recapping the events of the movies, simply being Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, until we get to the 3rd season, which was the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 arc. I stopped watching Dragon Ball Super very slowly, but I would catch up with some of the episodes whenever it was airing on Toonami Adult Swim, but I would lost track of it, and I kind of stopped watching Dragon Ball Super altogether and moved on from it, watching other anime like My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, and One Punch Man, and watching other shows like Ash vs. Evil Dead and the Marvel Netflix Daredevil series. But I managed to keep up with the show thanks to the Blu-rays I found and rewatching Super during my film classes, as at the time I was starting a new semester and a new class. The show does have a lot of problems here and there, mainly due to its art style being rushed due to the chaotic production schedule from Toei, and it also doesn't have the same intensity or high stakes like with Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. But yet despite this, I enjoy Dragon Ball Super. What makes Dragon Ball Super so great, you ask? Well, it's the blend of two previous series. The one being the comedic and character-driven aspects of Dragon Ball, and the action-packed and seriousness between Dragon Ball Z, where Super is both action-packed and comedic, where it has been done right. Both Battle of Gods and Resurrection F were like this, and I liked how they carried this tone heavily in Dragon Ball Super, something that GT didn't really do best, where it tries to blend both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but with its serious tones, it's hard to take it very seriously. Unlike with GT, where GT tries to balance the seriousness and action-packed and goofy tone of both shows, but it fails to be those things, and mainly copies Dragon Ball Z's tone with copying some things from Dragon Ball. And the way how they went about it is executed very poorly. Super, however, pushes the franchise into the modern age. Remember, Dragon Ball is a 40-year-old franchise, and the anime industry has changed a lot since the 90s and the 2000s. Dragon Ball needed to adapt to the new market to be more playful and more enjoyable. I don't think the dark and serious tone and action-packed with DBZ would ever work in the modern age of Dragon Ball. And if the franchise was going to continue, Super also needed to expand the mythology of the franchise. With this regard, it also succeeds. New characters, new universes, new Dragon Balls were introduced, and having that same quirky Toriyama style that we all know and love, including with the introduction of two new characters, Beerus and Whis, being the best two characters in the show and all of the franchise in general. Just like how Toriyama wrote most of his villains in the franchise. They are characters who just want to eat some delicious food from Earth, and if Beerus ever gets ticked off, well, he'll destroy a planet. I liked how Beerus is the comedic villain like Toriyama intended to be, and I also really liked how he interacts with Goku, Vegeta, and the rest of the game, Bulma in particular. Even his immature brotherly rival to Champa. The side characters here get enough to shine in the show, which is pretty great, and I also like seeing some of the callbacks from two previous shows, like Goku and Krillin's training, and how they interacted as seen with Dragon Ball, and seeing them train again puts a smile on my face. And seeing Gohan settling down and having to see him and Videl being parents was awesome. But most important of all is how we see the gods, how they treated the world as not as something to value, but as mere playthings. Something that is a little dark, but doesn't really explicitly say. One of the most important characters that I love seeing develop the most was Vegeta, who is one of the best characters to be ever written in anime and in fiction history in general, and we see how much he has grown over the course of the franchise. He's now a good father and a beloved husband, arguably more so than Goku. We've seen how much Vegeta has changed over the course of the franchise, where he went from being a villain to a rival to Goku, then being an ally to Goku and the rest of the Z fighters, and a caring husband to Bulma and father to Trunks. I also really like seeing the rivalry between Goku and Vegeta and how much that has been growing given the history since DBZ, how much it kept these characters very strong and growing them. I know not a lot of people really like the character assassination of Goku, like how he doesn't know what a kiss is, which...
Whoa! What was that, Trunks? You put your mouth on hers. That's so weird.
Kakarot, you've never kissed someone?
Huh? No, of course not. Why?
You're married and have children.
Yeah, duh, but what's that have to do with kissing?
Oh, no way.
No, tell me, is that like something people do?
Yeah, he's married to Chi-Chi and has kids, but Goku is still somewhat the same character like he was in both the previous shows. Even though, yes, not a lot of people liked how he was portrayed in Super, Goku is still the likable Goku that we all know and love. We also see some of the time that he spends with his family and his training with Krillin, and friendly and rival training with Vegeta, and even how he spends time with his granddaughter Pan and Piccolo.
An old man, Piccolo.
You're an old man now, you grandpa.
But don't you worry, one day you'll be a Super Saiyan flying all by yourself. Yeah!
That's pretty awesome, by the way. But I liked how they questioned Goku's morality a bit. This is a character that would train to be the strongest and is obsessed with fighting, and if he has it his way, he would train all day and would look for stronger people to fight, even at the expense of his family. He does this at the point of obscurity and Super, instigating a child god to hold a tournament that threatens the existence of nearly every universe. Many of the characters, including Beerus, get upset with Goku, and even some call him evil, which it radicalized the idea to touch upon even for the English dub of Goku, and challenges everything that we all know about Goku. In the English dub, Goku is portrayed traditionally heroic, more so than he was in the English sub. Of course, we know Goku isn't evil, but his single-minded of him to fight and getting stronger, that once it reaches its cosmic scale, it becomes comically dangerous, playing through the dark humor of Super. I also really like some of the references that Super has, like with the Clone Vegeta arc, which it's a fun arc, and seeing Chris Sabat's Vegeta interacting with Brian Dermot's Vegeta was awesome. Fun fact, Clone Vegeta is actually voiced by Brian Dermot, which, if you didn't know, he was the original voice for Vegeta in the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z.
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right! Hell! Damn it! I can't!
Is this what you'd like to do to me? Too bad.
Oh no! Galakan!
And also Zamasu. Zamasu was overall a really fun villain to watch. He was menacing and he was threatening, but throughout the rest of the Goku Black arc, he just becomes this cookie-cutter villain. Fun fact, Zamasu is actually voiced by James Masters, which, if you didn't know, you may have remembered him from shows like Smallville or Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Supernatural. And of course, you may have recognized him as the live-action Piccolo from the god-awful Dragon Ball film Dragon Ball Evolution. James was actually a huge Dragon Ball fan and didn't like Dragon Ball Evolution at all. He didn't like the story and didn't like how the characters were written, and was being a huge FU to fans and to Toriyama himself. And for this, he wanted to do Dragon Ball justice, and he went to Funimation and asked if he could play a character in Super, and offered to do it for free. And he got the role of Zamasu in the Goku Black arc, redeeming himself and redeeming to fans of Dragon Ball. He would continue to voice Zamasu in video games, and I love it. They still kept the characters the same, unlike how they ruined the characters in GT, including Goku. Dragon Ball Super did a great job with adapting the comedic Toriyama style we are all familiar with, the action-packed and high-stakes and power-ups that fans of OG Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z are familiar with. It brought the franchise back to its knees. I also really liked the Tournament of Power arc, where they had every fighter and showing their power-ups from two previous shows, like with Master Roshi's power-up that we haven't seen in a very long time until it was brought up in Resurrection F, and brought back again here in the Tournament of Power arc. I also really love how we got the characters and seeing them shine, like Gohan and Vidal's life, and Krillin's life as a police officer, and his life with Android 18 and his daughter, and of course Vegeta spending quality time with his family, and being this better father to Trunks and husband to Bulma. I also really liked how the Prince of All Saiyans couldn't even cook an omelet that one time. Revisiting Dragon Ball felt like revisiting an old friend that I haven't spoken to in a very long time, or revisiting my childhood memories. Super brought my love to the franchise back, and is the right sense of nostalgia to me. Where I played the video games like DBZ Kakarot and Dragon Ball FighterZ, I'm collecting some of the other figures. I'm in the middle of rewatching DBZ again, now as an adult, this time on Blu-ray. I watched the new Dragon Ball films like Super Broly and Super Superhero, with Toriyama being heavily involved with both films. I'm rereading the manga again, now as an adult, and I'm currently working on some Dragon Ball fan films for Dragon Ball's 40th anniversary and in honor of Akira Toriyama. I appreciate the world that Akira Toriyama has made, and this franchise has saved my life. I was having some problems with my personal life at the time before I started a new semester for film class, but the franchise had helped me with getting back my self-confidence. Ever Everyone who has grown up with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z are now adults, and the voice acting, especially for the English dub, is pretty good. The people from Funimation has gone a long way since then, and hearing Sean Schemmel as Goku and Chris Sabat as Vegeta, and all the other casts reprising their roles as their respective characters is even great. It's great to hear these characters' voices again, and even having Brian Dermot, the original voice for Vegeta, reprising his role, this time as Clone Vegeta, was absolutely awesome, and James Masters as Zamasu was great to hear. Now, as much as I praise this series, I am not blinded to see that it does have its flaws, like with its art style. Yeah, it's bad, at least, from the first 2 seasons, but over the course of the series, it does get better, and this was because of Toei Animation's hiring new animators and its chaotic production schedule and changes. Its action scenes can be a little dull at times, the arcs aren't as well engaging as previous arcs from Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, like with the Goku Black arc, for example. It's very predictable, and knowing the high stakes from DBZ and can get dull and obvious at times. It is lazy for Super recapping the movies for the first 2 seasons to begin with. Super didn't really need to recap the movies to start off with. I probably recommend to skip the first 2 seasons and watch the movies instead. Then just start off with Season 3 with the Universe 7 versus Universe 6 arc. While Super does have these problems, I could get over those problems because there's a lot to enjoy overall here and there. Seeing these characters again that we haven't seen in a long time and reestablish about who they are is great. And some of the comedic moments here and there, while yes, again, the animation for the first 2 seasons was rushed and looks bad, however, it does get better over time. I also like how Super makes me laugh than probably any other shows that I have seen, especially with its English dub, which goes to show how much of the folks from Funimation had gone a long way since DBZ, some things that they couldn't do in DBZ. The series is very self-aware, constantly making references here and there, and a lot of cool fan references, like Brian Dermot's Clone Vegeta or James Masters as Zamasu. But for people to recommend the show, it's kind of hard if you don't take Dragon Ball very seriously or just want to have some fun time with these characters that you grew up with and inspire you to be a better person. This is a show that is a must-watch. If you like the show, good for you. If you do not like it, then that is fine. I'm just expressing my opinion. While the series has ended, at least for now, there are a lot of things that I am very excited for the future of Dragon Ball. Like a new Dragon Ball game is coming out, with it being the 4th installment for the Budokai Tenkaichi series, titled Sparking Zero, and is hyped up to be the best Dragon Ball game out there. A new series is coming out called Dragon Ball Daima in celebration of the franchise's 40th anniversary, with Akira Toriyama being heavily involved with it before his passing. And this sadly will be one of his last works and one of his last involvements in the franchise before he passed away. Well, this and along with Sandland. While the show and the rest of the franchise couldn't reach the peak in the 90s or in the 2000s, it still is in a far better place than it was before. And for that, I'm thankful for it.